Hey everyone, it's BoogeyMan Ben. Hope everyone's doing well and everyone's having a great day. Today I want to do something a little bit different and something I'm surprised I've never talked about on this channel. Today I want to talk about my favorite horror movie scores of all time. So being a fan of horror for as long as I can remember, there are so many memorable horror movie scores that I can think of. Cramming it down into a top 10 list was very difficult because there's so many that I love and enjoy listening to, and it gives me fond memories of seeing the movies for the first time or reliving some of the amazing parts of movies. But I thought it'd be kind of cool to do this because it isn't something I've talked about before on this channel. So what you guys are going to hear is my top 10 horror movie score / soundtrack list, and I hope everyone looks forward to this. Please stay tuned. Coming in at number 10, we have Psycho 3, which was composed and arranged by Carter Burwell. Now, unfortunately, I do not have this soundtrack on CD. And it is not available on iTunes, and it's really pissing me off that they haven't put it out through Entrada yet. Entrada put out Psycho 2 and Salem's Lot, which are fantastic, and I'm just hoping that one day we will get a CD for Psycho 3, because I don't ever remember seeing the CD for this. This came out in 1986. This is actually one of the first cassettes I've ever owned. This is still the original cassette, and I've had this since I was 12 years old, and that was when Psycho 3 came out. I absolutely love this score. I think Carter Burwell is amazing. There's some great tracks on it. Marine in the Desert is one of my favorites. There's also Scream of Love, Warm as a Cry for Help, Dirty Street. I mean, there's just some great tracks on this, and I don't think it gets enough praise. It's a fantastic. He's gone on to be a terrific composer on numerous projects. This was one of his first, but yeah, I think this score is fantastic, and hopefully one day I will be able to get it on CD, because it's hard to, I don't really have a cassette player anymore. I think I have one somewhere, but so I can't listen to this anymore unless I watch the movie. But I absolutely love this score. So number 10 on my list is Carter Burwell's amazing score for Psycho 3. Number 9 on my list is Elmer Bernstein's score for An American Werewolf in London. I absolutely love this film, love this score. This music is both terrifying, haunting, it makes you sad. I mean, there's so many different fantastic pieces for this film that Elmer Bernstein did. I just absolutely love it. It's something that I listen to on occasion because I just love it. Also, with the soundtrack, you also had, Creedence Clearwater Revival. You also had Van Morrison, Sam Cooke. I mean, terrific, terrific music. Terrific soundtrack for a terrific movie. Absolutely love this. Number 9 on my list is An American Werewolf in London by Elmer Bernstein and various fantastic artists. Number 8 on my list is Wendy Carlos and Rachel Elkins' The Shining score. I absolutely am terrified by this score. I think this score made the movie scarier for me as a kid. Once I heard this music, and I didn't see The Shining until I was in my, I'm going to say late teens, early 20s. I had seen pieces of it when I was a kid, but watching the whole film was finally on cable when I was older. And I remember the music, the movie was already haunting and terrifying in many scenes, but this music just elevated everything. It's very, very scary music. I've heard touches of this score in the movie Shutter Island, which I think was fantastic. I think it's still one of the best horror scores ever done. So number 8 on my list is Wendy Carlos and Rachel Elkins' The Shining. Fantastic score. Is Bernard Herrmann's score for the fantastic film Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Now, a lot of people might be surprised that this one's not higher on my list. I love the score. It's fantastic. It's not one that I listen to all the time. I feel like it just works so well in the context of the film. It's not a score that I think is, something you would drive in listening to. It doesn't have that type of replay value for me. But I absolutely love the score. It works so fantastically well in the film because he used all strings, which is fantastic. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho is a masterpiece, and this film and the score for the film just elevates it even more, if that's even possible. So number 7 on my list is Bernard Herrmann's amazing, fantastic score for Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Number 6 on my list is Brad Fiedel's soundtrack to Fright Night. One of my favorite movies as a kid growing up. I absolutely love it. I love it even more now than I did as a kid. And this is another one that I haven't been able to find the official soundtrack release. I got this one, the soundtrack, the CD off of House of Mysterious Secrets. And it has the entire, score as well as the music that was in the film, by artists such as Jay Giles Band, Autograph, Ian Hunter, April Wine, Devo, and I also have the cassette. Now, the cassette I got off of eBay, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago, but absolutely love the soundtrack for Fright Night. The score is just so iconic. And it just makes this film so haunting and wonderful. And I was glad that they used his score. He also composed Fright Night Part 2. But yeah, absolutely fantastic score. Number 6 on my list, Brad Fiedel's score for Fright Night. Number 5 on my list is John Harrison's fantastic score for the film Creepshow. I love this music so much. I actually used it in when I did my Halloween video last year, touring around my neighborhood that was all decorated. I used parts of this score. Absolutely love this score. It's one of the first horror scores I ever remember loving when I was a kid. And it's terrifying and fun, and it's such a great piece for Halloween. And I love just the use of the score in the film. It's just fantastic. Each segment in the film, because it's 6 short stories, but for each segment it's a different type of score. I mean, there's a different score for each of the segments, and I love all of them. My favorite being the one for Father's Day and The Crate. Those are my 2 favorites. But yeah, absolutely love this score. It's another one that they put it out on vinyl recently, and I'm just having a hard time finding it. I think it's probably sold out everywhere. Plus, I still need to get a record player. But this is another one that I got off of House of Mysterious Secrets. Absolutely love this score. Number 5 on my list is John Harrison's amazing, fantastic score for Creepshow. Number 4 on my list is John Carpenter and Alan Howarth's score for Halloween 2. Now, a lot of people might be surprised I don't have the original Halloween score on here by John Carpenter. I love that score, but for some reason, the score for Halloween 2 is more terrifying to me. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the use of some of the different tones to the theme. I don't know, and I still think Halloween 2 is one of the most underappreciated sequels ever made. Absolutely love this score. I just love all the different tones in this film. I just think this score is terrifying. And for some reason, it terrifies me a lot more than the one from John Carpenter's original, even though I'm a big fan of that score as well. So number 4 on my list is Halloween 2 score by John Carpenter and Alan Howarth. Number 3 on my list is Harry Manfredini's scores for Friday the 13th. Now, this is one I bought off of House of Mysterious Secrets, but I also have it on I got it off of iTunes. My favorite scores from the Friday the 13th series are 1 through 6, because those are the ones that Harry Manfredini did. He also did Friday the 13th Part 9, Jason Goes to Hell, as well as Jason X. Those scores are great, but for my money, the first 6 are those scores are iconic to me, and probably because I grew up listening to those, and I just love the scores. My favorites, I probably would have to say, I love Part 2, Part 4, and Part 6 are probably my favorites. Yeah, I absolutely love these scores for these films. I mean, this music is just terrifying. I mean, just listening to it without even seeing the movie, it sets up so much mood, and he is just a fantastic composer. This music is just gets under your skin, and it still does for me, even when I'm just listening to it without watching the film. For me, the music is iconic as Jason Voorhees is to the franchise, and I'm so glad that Harry Manfredini is doing the music for the upcoming Friday the 13th video game. In my opinion, he's the only one that can score these films. And I hope if they ever do another Friday the 13th film that they will be smart, the studio will be smart and hire Harry Manfredini to do the score. So number 3 on my list is the Friday the 13th scores by Harry Manfredini. Absolutely amazing, terrifying scores. Number 2 on my list is Harry Suckman's score for Salem's Lot, the miniseries. This is probably the most terrifying score ever made. This music still freaks me out. As much as I love Salem's Lot, it still is my favorite horror film of all time. I cannot fall asleep watching Salem's Lot because there's parts of this score that really make you jump out of your seat. And there's one time I think I fell asleep watching it, and this music scared the shit out of me because I had drifted off, and just as a big moment happened and the score rises, it really just made my heart pound and woke me up. So I make sure that I don't fall asleep to this film. As many times as I've seen it, Salem's Lot is still the scariest film I've ever seen, and this score is no exception. This film, this score by Harry Suckman is just so fantastic, works so well with the film, and I'm so happy to have this soundtrack by Entrada. Fantastic score. Absolutely loved it. Still scares me to this day. So number 2 on my list is Harry Suckman's Salem's Lot score. And my favorite horror movie score of all time is Jerry Goldsmith's score for Psycho 2. This score, to me, is just a perfect package. It's a score that has tender moments to it. It invokes emotions, sadness, isolation, loneliness. It also invokes terror. There's so many great parts of this score. Psycho 2 is just such a beautiful, wonderful, awesome horror film. One of my favorite movies ever. And this score is something I've always associated. I hear it, and it's a score I listen to all the time. It's one that I just think it's one of those ones where, like I said, I love Bernard Herrmann's score for the original Psycho, but you can't relax and listen to that score. For me, this score has so much to it. It's such a well-rounded score because it does invoke fear, but it also invokes sadness, and it's also a very beautiful score. There's so much about Norman Bates's suffering that you feel when you listen to this score, and I think Jerry Goldsmith was just one of our best composers ever, and I just think this is the best horror score ever made. And again, it's just my opinion, but I love Psycho 2, the score, and it is my number 1 pick for favorite horror movie scores. So that's going to be it, my fellow fiends. Just wanted to thank everyone for taking the time to watch this video where I talked about my favorite horror movie scores. And please share your thoughts in the comment section below. Would love to hear what everybody thinks about my list. If you want to share your favorite horror scores in the comment section, that would be fantastic. I would love to know what everyone's favorite score is for horror. I just think it's awesome to hear so many different viewpoints on what. I think it's really cool to hear other people's favorites. Like I said, this list is just mine. Most of these scores are ones that I grew up loving, ones that scared me as a little kid, and I think that's why a lot of them have really stuck with me and that I just love listening to over and over again. So again, thanks so much again for watching, and I hope everyone's doing well, and have a good evening. Take it easy. Stay scared. Peace.